So what are some other tactics that we can use? One is to make vague promises. And as we know, we all want to save the environment. We all want to provide housing to the poor and help children and help the whales. And everybody wants that. We know that. The question is, where's the money going to come from? How are you going to measure results? Those are the questions you want to ask. How are you going to manage it? What are you going to take the funding from? We want to keep attention away from monitoring, just like in the corporate world. We don't want people to measure success. The public is not going to ask the question, well, after you've instituted a program, was it successful? It's too complicated. We want to keep people afraid. Fear is a very, very important tactic. After the fall of the Soviet Union and the end of the Cold War, there wasn't enough fear around. Fear is important to control people. Parents like to coddle their children like puppy dogs. They make great sheep and great adult dogs for the pyramid. Remember, this is a fine-tuned system. And the final tactic that's very important for politics cannot be overstated enough. This one's underestimated dramatically in terms of its importance. And that is pork. The idea behind pork is that it's very predictable and very easy to measure. Your electorate will measure your success on your ability to get the funding that they need for what's good for their community. And you can focus your efforts on that. It's predictable. And the great thing is that all the other Congress people understand that because they're all in the same situation. You can't be a great debater if you're worried constantly about getting elected. And the final strategy is war. What's the purpose of war? The purpose is often for a decoy. If you are worried about people paying attention to some policies that you've put in place that may not be palatable, you create a war. It's great to grow an economy that's stumbling. A lot of folks really want that legacy. You can't be a great president without war. Think about the great presidents, Lincoln, Washington, and Roosevelt. So how do you create a war? We're going to get into some more details tomorrow. You find a moral high ground. You use propaganda. And then you find natural henchmen who are opposing each other. And you nudge and fund them. It'll happen naturally. And then you come to the rescue. Remember, we've put in leaders that have emotional intelligence that is somewhere around room temperature. So they're going to believe this kind of stuff. So let me give you some closing thoughts. One was Winston Churchill. Democracy is the worst form of government, except all the others that have been tried. The pyramid's very complicated, but it's not unreasonable. Think of all the amenities of this miracle. The last time we tried to change this miracle in any significant amount was communism. And we all know how that went. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. You need to create a pyramid that is consistent with human nature. It's not perfect, but it works. And remember, there are a lot of inefficiencies. Our electorate votes for people who lie, and they know it. Some of them do. I'm amazed at how intelligent people complain to me about politicians yabbering. They haven't taken things up to our level. They haven't accepted. They're in denial that politicians are talking to the bottom 50% of intelligence in our country. They're not talking to you. How many times does that have to be explained to you? And I understand because it's so hard to believe. But the important thing at our level is that we have to accept it. It's the truth. That is what keeps things stable. We can't afford to be idealistic. I'm going to say this one more time today as we go into tomorrow. Raise your level of understanding to the level that it needs to be, which is we are living in a world that is completely different from what we were taught as children. And even we have to be constantly reminded of that.